Waterways are so important to Arkansas and really the overall sense of doing commerce. You know, it's not lost on me every day when I'm in my office and I can look out and see the Arkansas River and see the traffic going up and down. And what that means to essentially commerce in Arkansas. We are a state that is dependent on transportation and logistics, and our river system and our waterways, our navigable waterways, is so important to that. For us to be able to put freight on the river and get it to points all around the world, it makes Arkansas a player not only regionally, but nationally and even globally. The ports and the MKARNS are so important to Arkansas. If you look at what they bring to it, obviously they bring location for those barges to come in and to load and unload freight. But then if you see the development around ports, and I'll point specifically to the Port of Little Rock and all the land that they've acquired around there, you've seen industry spring up around it and really created a logistics, mecca, if you will, where you have the availability and access of the waterway, which is going to take you to really anywhere in the world. But then you have rail, in some cases multiple rail lines, so dual serve rail. Great utility access and rates coming in there, and then just good land. That's kind of that perfect mix, you will, for industrial recruitment, and you've seen so many industries spring up around that. And if you look at northeast Arkansas and what the ports up there have meant to our steel industry, the fact that we're able to bring in the scrap metal to melt it down and create new steel, it's just so important. We wouldn't be able to do the heavy economic development, industrial recruitment that we do in those areas if it were not for the ports. So the MKARNS is certainly unique in its role to recruiting new industry to Arkansas. A lot of times when we're recruiting companies who have never been here or don't know much about the state, when we can point on the map and show them our navigable waterways that we have in Arkansas, they get excited. Companies need to be able to transport their goods and bring in raw materials and raw product and ship out a finished product. And having that access is so important. A lot of times it gets us in the game, and then sometimes it keeps us in there and maybe even helps us win that deal. So having this navigable waterway system in Arkansas is so important. It really, literally it puts us on the map for economic development. And then it's on us as economic developers to go out there and sell it and close that deal. And then hopefully they ultimately locate here and utilize our waterways. I mean, it's vital to our state, I would say. It's really unique in our country and in our world. If you look at other countries, would they love to have the transportation network that we have that is essentially the middle of our country, that has an artery that runs through it in the Mississippi River, and then all the tributaries that go to it that allow us to do commerce throughout the middle parts of our country, where other countries around the world, they don't have that access. They're landlocked, in some cases dual landlocked, and don't have access to a port. This just opens it up so much for us to have access to industry, to be able to trade goods and services. You can go through the course of history, and great empires and cities are usually built around some type of waterway. It's some type of infrastructure that has allowed them to trade over time, that has built it up. And that's one of the things that makes our country so strong, and then ultimately Arkansas so strong, because Arkansas is almost a microcosm of that in our country. Not only do we have the Mississippi River on our eastern border, but then the Arkansas running through the entire heart of our country, and then the tributaries into the Arkansas River, and that which make up the MKARNS is so vital. So I think for people, just the most important thing to know is that it is something unique to our state, something that we can be very proud of, and something I hope that we can get the word out more about. I think a lot of folks in Arkansas know about it, know about the goods that it brings to our state, but there's a lot there that don't know everything about the MKARNS and the importance that it has to our state. But without the river system, commerce in our state really shuts down. You see that when we're impacted by a flood or some other natural disaster or some other issues. We can't afford to have that long term, and we need to make sure that our MKARNS and our river system is and continues to be healthy.